The opening scene of Inglorious Basterds is one of the most intense introductions in modern cinema. A quiet farmhouse, a polite conversation, a glass of milk, and somehow it feels more suspenseful than most action scenes. But what many people don't realize is that this scene wasn't created out of nowhere. It was heavily inspired by one of the most famous Western films ever made, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Director Quention Tarantino has openly said that his filmmaking style was deeply influenced by spaghetti westerns, especially the films of Sergio Leone. Tarantino stated, "I was trying to do like a spaghetti western, but using World War II iconography." And if you look closely, the opening of Inglorious Basterds is basically Tarantino's version of a Sergio Leone standoff. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Tarantino borrowed from Leone and why that inspiration made the opening scene so unforgettable. Before we even get to this scene, it's important to understand something about Tarantino. He's not just influenced by movies, he's obsessed with them. Throughout his career, Tarantino has pulled inspiration from kung fu films, exploitation movies, crime thrillers, and especially Italian spaghetti westerns. And no director represents that genre more than Sergio Leone. Leone completely reinvented the Western genre in the 1960s. Instead of heroic cowboys and clear good guys, his films focused on morally gray characters, long stretches of tension, extreme close-ups, and slow, deliberate pacing. All of those elements show up in Inglorious Basterds, but the biggest influence appears right in the opening scene. The film begins on a quiet French dairy farm. We see farmer Pierre Lapadite chopping wood with his daughters. Suddenly, Nazi vehicles arrive. Out steps Colonel Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz. From the very beginning, Tarantino frames the moment like a western. A lone house in the middle of nowhere, strangers arising from the horizon. It's almost identical to the way Sergio Leone introduces confrontations in his westerns. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, strangers frequently arrive in isolated locations to confront someone inside. The tension doesn't come from violence. It comes from anticipation. We know something bad is going to happen. We just don't know when. The Nazi vehicles arriving is just like Old Angel Eyes, played by Lee Van Cleef, arriving in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The start of both films opens with a tense domestic scene disrupted by an approaching antagonist. Landa arrives in a Nazi vehicle, and Angel Eyes arrives by horseback. Both antagonists remain extremely calm and totally in control of the situation, while speaking in a friendly tone to the domestic family household. They both sit down at the table with the man of the household and eat something he has to offer. Hans drinks Lapadite's milk, while Angel Eyes eats a loaf of bread. One of Sergio Leone's signature techniques was stretching scenes far longer than audiences expected. In classic Hollywood westerns, confrontations were quick, but Leone slowed everything down. A character enters a room, they sit, they talk, the camera lingers on faces, the silence grows uncomfortable, and eventually the violence erupts. The opening of Inglorious Basterds follows that exact structure. Colonel Landa politely asks for milk. They talk about dairy farming. He compliments the farmer's daughters. On the surface, it's a normal conversation, but underneath it, there's enormous tension. Just like in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the real drama is psychological. Another major Leone influence is the camera work. Sergio Leone was famous for extreme close-ups of faces, eyes, mouths, sweat, tiny facial expressions. These close-ups made audiences study every character like they were reading poker bluffs. You see the exact same technique in the opening of Inglorious Basterds. The camera constantly cuts between Landa's calm smile, Lapadite's nervous reactions, and the daughters watching silently. Tarantino uses these close-ups to show the power imbalance. Just like in Leone's film, the tension isn't created by action. It's created by watching characters think. In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Leone often builds tension through long stretches of silence and standoff aesthetics. The characters stare at each other with little narration said, and it creates suspense. Things gradually tighten until violence erupts, but the audience knows a gunfight is coming. Tarantino copies this rhythm almost perfectly, but with dialogue and pacing. The conversation between Landa and the farmer lasts more than 10 minutes. That's extremely long for an opening scene. but every moment adds pressure. Eventually, Landa switches from French to English, and that's when the audience realizes something terrifying. He knows the Jewish family is hiding under the floorboards. This moment works because Tarantino has stretched the tension for so long, exactly like Leone would. Another interesting parallel is the role of Hans Landa. In many spaghetti westerns, the visiting gunslinger has total control over the situation. They're calm, confident, and extremely dangerous. Landa fills that exact role. He's polite, he's charming, but he's also completely in charge. Like the iconic Western characters in Leone's films, he dominates the scene through intelligence rather than brute force. This is why Landa feels so terrifying. He isn't angry, he's curious, and curiosity makes him deadly. In Leone's films, tension always ends with sudden violence. A slow build-up, followed by a quick burst of brutality. Tarantino does the same thing. After the long conversation, Landa calmly signals the soldiers. They fire into the floorboards, and the scene erupts into chaos. The violence lasts only seconds, but it feels shocking because the audience has been sitting in suspense for so long. This rhythm, slow tension followed by sudden violence, is classic Sergio Leone storytelling. Tarantino has never hidden his influences. In fact, he celebrates them. The opening of Inglorious Basterds isn't just inspired by the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a tribute to Sergio Leone's entire filmmaking style. The pacing, the tension, the close-ups, the psychological standoff, all of it comes directly from the spaghetti western playbook. But Tarantino adds his own twist. Instead of cowboys in the American West, we get Nazis in occupied France. It's a western disguised as a World War II film. That's why the opening of Inglorious Basterds feels so unique. It's not structured like a typical war movie. It's structured like a Sergio Leone duel. Two men at a table, one hiding the truth, one hunting for it, and the audience waiting for the moment the guns finally go off. It's one of the best openings in modern cinema because it uses storytelling techniques perfected decades earlier by Sergio Leone. Sometimes, the most original scenes in film history are actually built on the greatest ideas that came before.